Welcome to the Lighthome Sustainable Design podcast series. We talk with the architects and builders about green design and homes that really suit the way we love to live.
Well, I'm here with Design Ambassador Ed Ewers to talk about his project of the month, which is Surf House 1, designed by Seeley Architects in Torquay in Victoria. So, Ed, what's so special about Surf House?
It's just a great beach shack. It epitomises light homes. It carries on from that culture of fibro shacks from the 50s, but it's contemporary. It packs a lot of house into a very small space. It's maintenance friendly. It's quite sustainable. It just ticks boxes.
And so just picking up on that comment of, it harks back to the fibro beach shacks of the 50s. How does it do that? And in what way do you get that sense?
They were a little bit different. They were designed to a budget, and they were different in that a beach house is somewhere people can escape normal suburban life. So people are a little bit more creative, a little bit more open-minded to a different lifestyle.
And is this also reflected in some of the materials that have been used in this home?
Oh, certainly. The facade, the external cladding is really simple. It's low maintenance. It's all based on a lightweight construction of timber and steel frame. And what they've done is they've used corrugated steel on the blind sides, as I like to call them, the sides that aren't particularly visible from the street, and then really smart articulation, big windows, and some really nice detailing of some compressed sheet in a fairly raw sort of unadulterated finish. And
so just in terms of that detailing, just what in particular have they done there?
Well, it's quite industrial, but it's compressed fibre cement sheet, and they've expressed the joint, and then they've infilled that joint with an aluminium channel, which just sort of gives it a bit of pep, and it really articulates the panels, and gives it, the facade, quite a bit of classic appearance.
And I think I noticed, I could be wrong, but when I was looking at the photographs, they seem to have made a bit of a feature of the screws, haven't they, instead of just hiding the screws? Yeah.
Yes, they have.
Kind of.
Yeah, expressed heads on a grid, just again setting up a rhythm, and that's forming part of the articulation of the architecture, yeah.
So when you step inside, how does it feel? In what ways does this home really suit the climate that we love to live in? And in fact, I guess the climate which is on the coast right near the surf.
In a lot of ways. The living's on the uppermost floor. And there's clever placement of louvers and external sort of plug-ons, balconies. So they're getting really good sea breeze through to cool the three levels. The living on the top level gives you the best outlook, and accesses the northern aspect via the deck, and big windows. Really big windows, some of which are actually obscure glass, but you're still getting a lot of really soft light coming through, which again gives you a sense of space. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in terms of, you mentioned before about an aspect of beach shacks is that they're kind of built to a budget. So, I mean, this doesn't exactly look like it's built to a budget, but how cost effective was it in terms of its construction?
I think you find it's not a cheap home, but it was certainly built to a pretty modest budget. And that was certainly part of the brief, and I think the very planar planning of it, stacking a box and only having little subtle shifts in that rectangular box, really efficient means of construction, selection of materials, and using the site to their advantage, push the dollar a long way.
And so when you say using the site to their advantage, how did they do that?
There's a bit of fall on the site.
Towards the front of the house, is it?
No, towards the rear.
Right.
Yeah. So the house, the lower level uses that effectively a basement, where there's a carport which is quite discreet, and also some wet rooms, and the entry really well tucked in, sort of lower than street level, and then you build up from that. Now, in doing that, they've managed to get the sort of your utilitarian space of car and laundries and some storage for surf gear, tucked away in a very cost-efficient manner, and then steel frame and timber stud thereafter, 2 levels above. Pretty simple box, wall-on-wall construction, just a few little plug-ons for balconies. And another clever trick is they've plugged on, all the wet rooms are plugged onto the west side of the home, which again just gives a buffer from the elements. Means the living and the bedrooms, for that matter, don't cook, and also probably a bit of a buffer from the southwesterly fronts.
And in terms of sustainability, what have they done there to make this a sustainable home?
I think all the normal things are achieved. It's super insulated. It's got efficient glazing and good insulation. But it's more about the form. Like I say, wall on wall, very simple construction, and then just little juxtapositions that give relief to windows. So little sections that just pop out beyond that wall on wall above a window to protect that window from either sun or weather. And then using the living on the top level and a careful placement of louver windows, they can draw the sea breeze right through the home and keep it pretty comfortable in the height of summer. But similarly, you can batten that down, and the thermal insulation works obviously to your favour in winter.
And because it's quite a sort of, it's really a single room wide plan, isn't it?
Not much more than that, yeah.
So I guess then the cross-flow ventilation works particularly well in that situation.
And the stacking that I keep referring to, the stairwell starts to work for you.
Right, as like a thermal chimney kind of thing.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah, a heat vent, yeah.
And so, would you have achieved the same effect if you'd built this in, I don't know, let's say concrete panels and something else heavyweight?
Look, I think not. I think you would waste a lot of material getting out of the ground, where where in this instance the lightweight sort of it requires very little structure to get above that natural ground levels. If they were solid walls, you're spending a lot of money on load-bearing solid walls, whether it's concrete or brick or whatever it is. It would certainly be a lot more labour intensive, and I think concrete panel would not work, just given the site constraints of craning and hoisting.
And so anything else in wrapping up that you think that the architects have done particularly well here?
I'm repeating myself, but I just think they've just mixed a very, very small palette and a very simple idea with just these little juxtapositions just to highlight intrigue and sort of classic architecture, and that is what contemporary beach homes are about. They are being a little bit more liberal and a little bit more fun, and contrary to perhaps the way most people live most of their lives. It's an escape to the beach.
Yes. Well, Ed, this is our last Design Ambassadors session, and thank you very much for your contributions over the year. And I can't help but think, as I reflect back on some of the choices and the conversations that we've had over the year, that idea of a simple palette of materials and just picking on a couple of, I don't know, design aspects, if you like, to use as accents, have been a common and underlying theme in terms of the light homes that you've chosen. Would that be fair?
Yeah, I was reflecting too, and obviously we've had a couple of beach homes, and quite a different one in the city as well. But I think the things that I'm attracted to and that what I'm seeing my peers do here in Victoria fits that bill. It's keep it simple, and the architect's role then is just to is to make the ordinary extraordinary.
Fabulous. Well, thank you very much for your contributions, Ed.
Thanks, Amanda.